I was able to secure full funding without having to write any GRE, GMAT, TOEFL, or IELTS. And in this video, I'm going to tell you how I did it and how I think you can also do it. So let's get right into the video. But I'll be on it always, always, forever. Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be talking about my study abroad journey, how it all started, and a few things I learned throughout this process. And I hope that somebody out there will be able to take a few cues from my experience and use that to also pursue their journey as well. For those of you who are new on my channel, my name is Hetty. I'm currently a graduate student in the US pursuing my master's here in communication studies. I would say that my journey started in 2020 when I graduated from the University of Professional Studies, Accra, with a bachelor's degree in public relations management. And I had to go on to do my national service, which is a mandatory service if you're in Ghana. Like, you need to do that when you're done with university. So throughout that process, I was thinking about life after national service, job security, and so I decided to start my application. And in all honesty, I never thought of applying to the US. My reason being that I'd heard too many stories about not getting interview dates, and it's difficult to get into the US, the process is hectic, and all of those stories. So I closed my mind to the US and I was geared towards Canada or the European countries. So I applied to a school in Canada, and then my first rejection came. Oh my God. It was so heartbreaking. And so I felt like, that's the end of the world. But I still decided to go ahead and apply for schools in Europe. So I applied to a school in Poland. Yes, you heard me right. It's Poland. Not to say Poland is a bad place or anything, but I put in an application and then I got admitted with full scholarship. I was so excited. But guess what? There was no Polish embassy in Ghana, which means that I have to travel all the way to Abuja, Nigeria to go for my visa interview. And that alone felt like too much work for me. So I decided to just close that chapter. But along the line, I decided to start researching for schools in the US that do either public relations or communication studies. Now, this is where the whole process begins. If you decide that you want to study abroad, irrespective of the country, the first thing you need to do is to research for schools that offer courses that are of interest to you. So throughout my research process, I came to realize that sometimes how we call our courses in Ghana is different from what is being called here. But if you read about the course on the various websites, you'll be able to get an understanding of what the whole program is about. So I did that, and then I listed a number of schools. And then one thing that helped me was I started reaching out to the graduate chair of each school that I applied to, specifically towards the departments that I was looking at being a part of. So I reached out and then introduced myself. And then I expressed my interest in wanting to apply for the program. So if there's anything that the graduate chair thinks I could add to my application process, they should let me know, so I work on that. And trust me, these people are humans just like us. So once you reach out to them, they are willing to share information. You need to ask questions, you need to bombard them with all the emails just so they can get familiar with your name. That's one thing that helped me. Even if the information is on the website, I will send you an email and ask you, just because I wanted to keep up the conversation. And you can always follow up on your application after putting it in. So I did that, and then I finalized with the school. I put in my application, and then I sent an email to my graduate chair that I had put in my application. And so I look forward to a positive response and being part of the team in the coming year as well. So I did my application submission on December 2021. And my admission came in on February 16th, 2022. I'll never forget. I was so excited. It came in the evening and I was screaming my lungs out because I was like, finally. So I got admitted into the school. And the good thing about my admission was it came with the full funding. So you also have to research. Some schools you need to apply for the funding outside of your application, but with mine it was together, so there was no need for me to apply for funding because the department said once you are enrolled into the program, you get automatically enrolled on the whole funding system. So that was the good part. I was so excited, and then now the headache comes in, which is getting a visa interview date and preparing for the visa interview. So this is where I met the Fred Effect channel. Yes, shout out to the Fred Effect. He's been very helpful to most of us since before and then since we came into the US. So I met Fred through a friend who had already moved to the US, I think a year or two before. I reached out to him and he asked me to send him my I-20. So before that, after my admission letter came in, the school reached out and said I was going to get my I-20 a few weeks later, which I did. So I sent it to Fred and he went through and explained everything, and he emphasized that I read every detail on my I-20 because I'm going to use that for my visa interview. So I need to know every detail on this. So when I'm asked a question, I'll be able to respond. Mind you, at that time, I was done with service and then I was working elsewhere as well. So combining a lot of these things was hectic, but the commitment and the dedication to, travel abroad was just like keeping me going. So after we spoke, he added me to a visa mock interview page where basically we prep each other for the visa interview, and then we also have like documents review days where he reviews like our DS-160 and make sure that we have all the right information in there to be able to submit on time and then submit the right documents. And so he and his team were doing this for free. They were using their experience to also guide some of us to come through like safely and smoothly. So like special thank you to the Fred Effect channel for making it easy for some of us to come through. Now, the other part of the commitment and then the dedication was that I had to be waking up at 4 a.m. to do mock interviews with Fred because of the time difference. So I was waking up like 4 a.m. Ghana time, which was about, I think, 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. here in the US. So even before the whole mock session part, the headache was looking for dates. The headache was looking for dates. I paid my visa fee, which was $160 then. And the next thing was to look for an appointment date for my visa interview. The day I paid for my visa application fee, I think that evening I was able to get a date, and the date was for March 31st the next year, which was 2023. Hey, somebody who is going to school in August 2022, my date that I was getting was March 2023. So I panicked because I was just everything that I'd heard was just coming back to my mind, like no dates and stuff like that. So I spoke to Fred and he kept encouraging that, oh, you should keep checking. So one trick that was helpful was people suggested like you check at dawn, 2 a.m., 1 a.m. You might find like some single slots. And I was in all sorts of date hunting groups where if there's a date, somebody comes to put like dates available and stuff like that. So I remember getting frustrated at a point because I wasn't getting a date, and I reached out to Fred about wanting to go to Sierra Leone. He laughed. I remember so well. He laughed and said like, Hetty, relax. You just started this process and you have all the way till August to go to school. So calm down. And do you think you have the means of traveling to Sierra Leone, accommodation, flights, all of these things? Think about it. So just chill and then look out for more dates. So commitment, patience. Patience. You need to be very, very patient throughout this process because it is hectic. It is draining emotionally, physically, everything. It will just ginger you. But I was patient enough to wait. So luckily, I was in a date hunting group where I saw a message like dates were available. But I think I saw it like 5 minutes later. And then when I went to check, I was so lucky. It was just like with one slot for July 14th. Yes, I think it was 10 a.m. And then I was able to click and then it said appointment confirmed. That was just there. I just said there's no need for me to change my date again. So it brings me back to prepping for mock sessions, waking up at 4 a.m., having Fred and his team in the US help us prep and all of that. And to be honest, the route and the procedure through which they prepped us was really, really helpful. Because getting to the visa interview and hearing like some of these questions being asked, I felt relieved because I was like, oh, I prepared other than people who hadn't prepared. So I printed all my documents from my transcript, my I-20, my admission letter, my funding letter. I made sure to have printed out all the documents that the school sent me. And then because I had a full funding, I still had to go with the bank statements because in filling my DS-160, I indicated that entity paying for trip was self. So I needed to go in my bank statement to make sure that if I'm being asked to provide a statement to show that I can pay for my trip, at least I have something there So the fact that you have full funding and there's a question in the DS-160 that asks for entity paying for trip, regardless of whoever you put there, please make sure to have a bank statement to support that as well. And all of this were like information that I got to know from joining the mock sessions with Fred and his team. And moving on, visa interview date. My visa interview was for 10 a.m., but I got to the embassy at 6 a.m. Somebody will be wondering, but your interview is at 10, so why did you get to the embassy at 6 a.m.? Well, I did that because I wanted to be there on time, and also I had heard that you should get there on time because sometimes the people who signed up for earlier periods before you are just a few. The window is just for like a few people, so you might want to get there early because when they come and they call these people and the number is just like a handful, they'll come for the next session. So I got there at 6 and then I went into the embassy around 8 something, I think 8:30, almost 9 a.m. So imagine if I had stayed home and said, oh, my interview is at 10, so let me just relax. And one thing I'm going to say from my personal experience was that standing in line waiting to be called to enter the embassy, you're going to hear all sorts of comments from people. Oh, this visa officer is this visa officer is that. It's just for you to stick to your thoughts and yourself and just like be positive. That's all I'm going to say. Like, be positive, like be optimistic, and just stick to whatever you've planned and prepared for, because people are going to say things to discourage you, but at the end of the day you have to be in charge of your thoughts. That's my opinion. Like, at the end of the day you have to control your thoughts and be mindful of what you want to listen to and what you choose to ignore. So I went in and then I was asked to go through the process, fingerprints and all of that, and it was time for us and I was hearing people being interviewed and I was like, oh, so this is how it is. Like, you can literally hear somebody being approved and somebody being denied. So listening to all of these, and then people were panicking like, hey God, but it draws back to being positive. Like, just stick true to yourself as well. Just stick to what you've prepared for. So I went and then I was asked, I think, 3 questions. If I applied to any other school, if I work, and then if I traveled outside Ghana before. So the moment I saw the visa officer pull my passports behind him and then looking for like the sheets, because I'd heard like stories of how the approval sheets looks like. The moment I saw that, I was like, oh God, thank you. Like, everything he said, people used to share their experiences after going for their visa interview and go like, the moment I see him giving me the sheets, I don't hear anything else he says. So I thought they were exaggerating, but that day, I didn't hear anything again. The moment I just said, take this sheet, I didn't hear anything again. Like, I just took the sheet and ran out because I didn't want to say she would call back and say, excuse me, ma, there was an issue. No, please. So that was like my whole visa interview process and then my study abroad journey, like how it started. My key takeaways, like, first of all, is going to be research, commitment, patience, and dedication to the course. I say research because if you do not research, you stick to hearsay and you might not want to like make the move. But after researching and getting all the knowledge and information for yourself, you'll be able to know that, this thing is like easy. I can put in an application and get in. And in your research process, communicate. Communicate with your graduate chair. If there's any professor whose work is of interest to you, like, reach out to the person, introduce yourself. Let them know about you. If there are any important or vital information that you think would help you, let them know. And that's one way that you can also win like a scholarship or get to work with any professor and then have a full funding as well. Now, commitment. You need to stay committed to the course because you cannot start and then stop. And that's the issue with most people. They tend to want to study abroad, but they want somebody else to do the process for them. And if it's fine if you want somebody to do it for you, but at the end of the day, you go for your visa interview. So if you do not prepare and stay committed to the course, you're struggling when you have to go for your visa interview. Dedication as well. It's just like commitment. You need to be dedicated to the course. You need to stay true to whatever that you are doing and then make sure you follow it to the very end as well. and being positive. So like my experience at the visa interview, people were saying all sorts of, this VO is denying people, so he's not going to be approving people. But I was still positive within me and kept like affirming myself with positive thoughts that I was going to sail through. And eventually, by God's grace, I made it through. And then I'm here today to like share my experience as well. So if you have any questions, either study abroad questions, like in terms of courses, programs, or anything related, or if there's something that you wanted to know which I didn't talk about, please feel free to leave any comments in the comment section, and then I'll do my best to answer them. And if there are quite a lot, I'll probably put together like another YouTube video to speak about it and all. Until then, thank you all so much for sticking and staying with me, and please don't forget to like, subscribe.
But I'll be on it always, always.